Hello and welcome to the Magic Mirror podcast. I'm your host, as usual, Khan the Trinket Mage, and with me is my co-host, 33 Elk.
Hello.
Additionally, we have our other co-host, Salubrious Snail.
Hello, hello.
Today's going to be a fun topic. Do I say that every episode? I feel like I do.
It's always a fun topic
This
here.
topic's gonna suck. I'm sorry, audience. I don't know what to tell you.
No, we want them to watch the podcast, remember?
That's true. No, this topic's great.
Anyway, we pulled out some niche, underrated archetypes, underplayed archetypes that we are going to pitch to our other two podcast co-hosts who will give it some sort of rating. And hopefully maybe you'll see some underrated archetypes that you'll give a try. Before we get into that though, I need to tell you about our sponsor, Laughing Dragon. Guys, Laughing Dragon's Command Fest Tacoma is really close actually. We're recording this on the 23rd and it's 4th of July when that comes out. You can still get your tickets. You can still go. Especially if you're in the Seattle, Tacoma area, you definitely should go. It'll be a ton of fun. There'll be Commander, there'll be Limited, there'll be all sorts of fun, cool events. Alex will be there, Elk will be there.
Yep.
It'll be a lot of fun. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. So click the link below to get your tickets today. All right, let's start with this one, which is Haste. This was yours, Elk. You brought this one.
Haste is a keyword in Magic the Gathering, but a whole archetype, and my answer is yes, it is. So we got Sonic recently. It's kind of like a mix of haste and stop hitting yourself. I think of Nariv, Heart of the Storm. If something entered this turn, it does double damage. Ognis has existed for a while. That was built to support Blitz, but now it just works with any haste creature as well. Whenever a creature with haste attacks, create a tap treasure token. Goro and Satora, whenever a creature you control entered this turn, does combat damage to an opponent. It works with Ninjutsu or haste. Yeah, and then we have some newer versions. Like there's a Samut player kicking around my pod who just beats people to death. That being the new Samut, Vizier of Noctimun. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, if that creature entered the battlefield this turn, draw a card with First Strike, Vigilance, and Haste. But there's a few other examples of commanders like Death Leaper and stuff. I feel like there's enough cards in Magic the Gathering now that say, hey, if a thing entered this turn, it does quadruple damage and also draws you 5 cards and also explodes your opponents. That haste is an archetype for sure. And also, I like that haste closes out the game a lot. Whenever I see a deck that's this is my haste beatdown deck, the game's not going to last past turn 8 or 9 if that player's in the pod. And that's good, I think. I like shorter games of Commander. And I like that these sorts of cards are making aggro kind of viable in the EDH 40 life environment. Right? They're damage multiplying and double striking and drawing a bunch of cards to stay fueled up. And it's a cool way to do aggro, I think.
Yeah, I really appreciate cards like Nariv, especially since that one doesn't even specify combat damage. So you can throw that down a Sir Conrad and then sacrifice a bunch of things to a sack outlet to Nariv people for a stupid amount.
Yeah, you don't actually need haste for Nariv to work, but you can build it in a haste deck.
You can, yeah.
Yeah. You also have such good cards in haste too, now that I think about it, like Detective's Phoenix. Oh, bestowing that thing is so broken.
That's pretty sweet, yeah.
Is Heartless Hisugu? It deals damage, right?
It is.
That's probably the
yeah,
funniest
if you
thing
give it
to do with
haste.
Nariv.
Yeah.
You can give it haste.
What is that one stupid orb that halves damage to you?
I think it's just called Dark Sphere.
The Dark Sphere. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, from the dark, $7.
Okay, so if you Heartless Hitotsugu with the Riv, then every player at an odd life total survives at 1 health, and every player at an evil life total instantly dies.
Correct.
That's cool. I like that.
But yeah,
haste is cool. It's a fun archetype to build because they will print more creatures with haste. So when you have something like Sonic that cares about haste, you can you'll have new tools and stuff for it.
Oh yeah, the upgradability is a good point to make.
Yeah, I think there's some cards for a haste archetype that are better designed than others. There are some that literally just refer to creatures with haste, like that one Jund commander, and that seems a little more limited. That just seems like you're going to be staring at each set looking for the cards with haste on them.
Oh, Ognis, yeah.
Obviously, you can also give all your creatures haste, but if you're doing that in an Ognis deck, you're going to have probably a pretty bad time. Because your creatures already presumably have haste.
Yeah, I wonder if it's Yeah, I think I agree with you. The things that care about attacking the turn that came out is better than things that care about haste specifically.
Yeah, I like,
just because it's more flexible.
I like the wording on Nariv much better than I like the wording on Ognis.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I'd probably put this in Sure Like it's yeah, I would love to see a little more of this, but it's not like rocking my world.
Oh yeah, I didn't explain our ratings. Our ratings are, we have gem alert. That's like for real hidden gem. Yusuf can put the gem alarm on screen if that happens. Then we have like sure, like yeah, it's a good underrated archetype. We have sees too much play and should not exist if we really don't like an archetype. And I would agree with Alex. I feel like this is in a sure. Like, I don't hate haste as an archetype, but I'm not like crazy excited about it. All right, let's move on to one of mine, and that's going to be Devotion. So Devotion is not a super underplayed archetype. It's got 5,000 decks on EDH, but hang on, hear me out for a second. I think it's going to become more underplayed as time goes on. I think it's going to fall in the rankings. The reason being, I don't think we're going to do a monocolored set anytime soon. I feel like a lot of Magic design has kind of skewed towards multicolor, more colors, hybrid mana, like to make it more palatable to commander players, because you want your legendary creature to have 3 colors in it to have access to more things. So I don't think like monocolored Devotion will happen as often. So I actually think it's a future severely underrated archetype. But despite that, we actually still get lots of cool cards for this, because we have the Devotion synergy pieces printed from like Theros and stuff. You can play your Nykthoses, you can play your, things that deal damage equal to your Devotion to a color like Grey Merchant of Asphodel. But then you get new cards with many pips that work for that, or potentially are good commanders. So like, if you want to play Grey Merchant of Asphodel in a deck, well, you have the new Doctor Doom as a Devotion commander. He's got like double pips and, is mono black. Or, you can play Anti-Venom for mono white Devotion. He's got 5 pips in the command zone. So I think this is like an archetype that's going to fall off pretty heavy, but it's still pretty cool. And I'd like it for new players, especially monocolored Devotion, because it's a lot easier to build a monocolor deck. You just kind of need good cards with your pips in it, which is not that hard to find. So it's kind of like, I don't know, it's like simple for a new player, which I think is neat.
So
I just feel like it's like kind of hard to call Devotion underplayed when I feel like 90% of monocolor decks want a Nykthos. Like, what's the line here between monocolor with some Devotion cards and a Devotion deck? Is it really just like a critical mass of like running cards that care about Devotion and heavy pips?
I mean, yeah, like I would say Yusuf's
Live Ifrit's dominant
deck is a Devotion deck as opposed to just being mono red, where he's playing cards with high pips to trigger his commander more.
I guess so.
Like War Elemental isn't a good card, but like it has triple red pips, which buffs his commander. So
yeah, I mean, I still don't think I can call it underplayed. I think Devotion's a great mechanic, to be clear. I love Devotion to death. I like that it makes monocolor cool. I prefer Chroma, honestly, but we can not talk about that. But Devotion to me is just like, I feel like I see Devotion cards just thrown around all the time.
Like what? Other than Gary, name a Devotion card you actually see.
Nykthos, Fanatic of Mogus.
When was the last time you saw Fanatic of Mogus outside of playing against Yusuf, which is a Devotion deck?
Fanatic of Mogus is awesome. What?
Yeah, no, it is good.
I don't see Fanatic of Mogus very much.
Yeah, but I don't see it. Yeah.
It's in my Jaxus deck too. Like I see it every time I play Jaxus.
You're playing it in a mono red Devotion deck. Oh.
I know. That's why I have a Devotion deck is all I'm saying. It's just like, I don't know if this is really underplayed.
But like when was Joe Schmo at the game store playing Fanatic of Mogus?
I guess. Then there's Grim Servant. We got that in Modern Horizons 3. That one's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I do love the mechanic, and I want them to print more of the mechanic. I don't feel like I want people to play more Devotion decks with like the current Devotion cards, because I don't know, the current Devotion cards are either played or not all that interesting. I think like, should more people play Fanatic of Mogus? I guess. Should more people play Karamech's Acolyte? Maybe. I don't know if these cards are like really rocking my world, all that interesting.
I feel like part of why we don't see so many monocolored cards, by the way, is because of like limited. I think just like monocolored drafting and limited feels so linear.
Yeah.
And so of course they're making multicolored the push thing. So we get like less payoffs for monocolored benefits, like whatever. The Revelant Hoplite exists, and the Nykthos Paragon, I think it's called, the 6-mana one that makes
Devotion is not good for limited. It's not a very enjoyable mechanic to play with. So I think there's a reason why we haven't seen more of it.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna see it in a while.
To enhance the sentiment of my message, I would say sees too much play. Like I don't think it's actually underrated. I think it's with the current options we have, I think people are running as much Devotion as they should be.
I would like more devotion payoffs, and no, a god turning into a creature is not a devotion payoff. If anything, that's a devotion not payoff. It's an anti-synergy. I want my indestructible enchantment to stay an enchantment.
Okay, moving on.
Also, if someone comments that Thassa's Oracle is a devotion card, we're banning you.
Yeah, there's a reason I didn't mention that one. But Master of Waves is really cool.
So
I agree. Master of Waves is badass.
yeah, I like all the original devotion stuff because that was like the standard environment I started playing in, and I have nostalgia and shit. Okay, blood tokens. This is an underrated gem, and I'm telling you that. All of the commanders for this are so cool. Shillingar, Sire of Famine, eats angels and then sacrifices 6 blood tokens to return each creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. That's so cool. Also, to be clear, blood tokens are artifact tokens that you can crack, discard a card to draw a card. I love looting, so I love blood tokens for that reason. And then, as I said, all of the designs are so cool. Shillingar is great. Ivor is just like a cool 2-mana commander. Strefan is kind of funky. Doesn't really match with the current vampire commanders because it encourages blasting out massive vampires ahead of curve. But I kind of like that alternate approach.
Who was the 2-minute commander you said?
Ivora.
Ivora, Insatiable Hair.
Oh.
So yeah, I think there's a lot of really cool commander options, and also I just like the mechanic. I like discarding and drawing cards, and other people should also like discarding and drawing cards. Let's see more of your deck.
I do like blood tokens. I think they're cool.
I agree. I like the artifact stuff you can do with them. There's a lot of black and red cards, which blood is mostly in, that overlap with this like artifact token generation plan and discard and stuff. So like having a constant discard outlets is very strong for blood. And also having all this artifact synergy like Marionette Apprentice and Marionette Master and Mirkwood Bats. Well, Mirkwood Bats is just token synergy, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Having all these cards that like explode your opponents for having a bunch of tokens is pretty nice as well. I'm reminded of Legacy back when like Exsanguinator Cavalry used to be like a playable black legacy threat. That was like for a solid like 2-3 months. People were experimenting with it. It's like this like lifelinking menace knight that whenever a knight you control deals combat damage to an opponent, you put a counter on this creature and you make a blood token. And so you just like start the beat down and make a bunch of blood tokens. And then this menace lifelinker grows over time. And the Baragoyf got printed, so we don't talk about it anymore. But
Tragic.
Overall, yeah, exactly. Overall, mostly just sad about blood tokens. I'm not able to run Mutagen Man in these colors unless I'm like some weird Jund blood token amalgamation, which does not sound like a workable deck. But overall, blood tokens are cool. I like Madness and discard and stuff. Is it overplayed or underplayed? That's the main question. I do think it's underplayed. I think more people should put blood token stuff in their deck. And then also just build around them in general.
I mean, it's definitely uncommon. I don't think I've really ever seen a dedicated blood token deck other than maybe Jaws. I've seen like one Jaws list floating around.
If you've seen Strefan, you've seen a blood token deck, in my opinion.
I've never seen a Strefan deck.
Really? I feel like Strefan is pretty popular.
I don't know.
Shilgengar has a decent number of decks according to EDH Rack.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen anyone play it either though.
Shilgengar to me literally reads like a custom Magic card. And that's not entirely a complaint, by the way. That's like
It does.
I think it's kind of interesting that the blood tokens are so tied to vampires and then they made Jaws. I wonder if there's going to be like more shark cards that care about blood tokens.
that would be cool.
I wonder if that's like an archetype they'll push.
It is one of those like themed mechanics that clearly has like a strong mechanical tie to its original source, but you could definitely venture out.
Yeah, it's just blood's really hard to reprint without vampire.
Yeah.
There's shark. What else cares about blood?
Yeah, you kind of need to like
Mosquito. You can do like insect things.
Yeah, but mosquitoes with my blood tokens, I guess. There's like Zoth and Zendikar.
I
Yeah.
you probably want to do it like bespoke to a new setting, like to figure out a thing that uses blood in the setting.
I mean, demons can use blood, right?
yeah, you could have like a plane where demonic rituals to summon demons are more of a thing.
A
Yeah.
plane with detectives that make clues, vampires that make blood. What else? Pirates that make treasure. Just like have every stupid fucking artifact token that we have in Magic the Gathering in one plane.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Goblins that mine for gold, or dwarves, I guess.
Yeah. What would make food? Halflings.
Yeah.
Yeah, halflings. New chef type.
The chefs. Oh, that's cool.
I mean, if we have detectives, like we can have chefs, right?
Of course. Yeah. We need to get more normal professions in Magic the Gathering. Where's like middle manager?
Universes Beyond is helping with that.
Well, Elk, would you put this in Gem Alarm, or is this like a sure? Yeah.
The fact that I'm considering putting it in Sure, despite this archetype having a precon, means it's Gem Alarm, I think. Right?
What? I feel like it's underplayed because there's nothing to do with the blood tokens. What's my payoff?
There's a lot to do with the blood tokens. It's like madness and artifacts, right?
Sure, generic.
Marionette Master, kill them.
That's not a blood token thing. You could do the same with treasures and clues.
I think that's what makes it so cool is that like you can have like these broken payoffs and like
that it's not unique.
Oh my gosh, you're impossible. But yeah, I guess it isn't unique.
It's not.
You beat me. I concede. You got me there. It's not unique, and that's why I kind of like it. There isn't like a card that like says if you have 12 blood tokens, you win. Well, there is. It's Hellkite Tyrant, but
I agree that I think it's good that there isn't a card like was it Revel in Riches? You know, if you have like 10 treasures you win. Like, I think those cards are stupid. But I do like that there are cards that are like, there's more cards that are like, you can, you know, tap 5 treasures and, you know, flip your card around and do a thing. And there's just like, I feel like there's less of that. Obviously, treasures have been printed more. I understand why. But like, I don't know. What am I doing that's interesting?
It's more just generic artifact stuff. And it's if the specific blood token centered cards interest you. You know, if Shogungar or Streffen or Evora or Camber interests you.
Yeah, blood is more of an engine that a deck runs and less of a like actual like whole game plan is I think a good way of looking at it. It's like a shell that makes a game plan work. What you decide to do with the blood, whether that be Reanimator or Artifact Drain, is like entirely up to you, but the blood is like the driving force in that.
Yeah, I get that, but that's why I would put Ensure.
It's so tough. I think you've persuaded me to sure, but I still like blood a lot.
I like blood too. It's cool. All right. Let's see. We've done one of each of ours. Okay, cool. Let's go to another one of Elk's. Top deck.
Yeah, top deck manipulation is really fun. And if people always immediately think of miracles, I know I do. But there's other ways to abuse the top deck. Think about Clash, right? Like you have Marvo decks. Yenet, Cryptic Sovereign also exists. I have a top deck manipulation deck in Kinesos, Priest of Thassa, which can cheat giant sea monsters off the top of your library for 4 mana. So long story short, you can also do some stupid stuff with like Elsha or like Gallia, like right, these things that let you cast from the top, like these future sight effects. Overall, though, I think what I appreciate most about top deck manipulation as like a means to finishing out a game or like to enable like big explosive plays is that when your top deck matters for a significant number of cards in your deck, like counterbalance, etc., the top card of your library becomes an additional card in your hand that you have to track and like take advantage of. And that is a really fun feeling to be able to like try and like juggle cards to the top of your library and then, you know, manage to find a way to cheat them out with some stupid effect. Any deck that can manipulate the top of their library and then also finds ways to cheat the top of their library or use it in an interesting way is always going to be a deck I'm going to be very interested in. Except for Yuriko, but there's other things wrong with that card. The top deck part of that card is the best part of it.
I don't know. Do you think that top deck cards go against the spirit of EDH because having like a clutch top deck rather than setting up all of your draws is like a cool moment, right?
Oh, yeah, I guess that is a fun moment. Here's my counter argument to people who say such a thing. It's fun to manipulate the top card of your library. It's really fun. No, that's a really funny joke.
Is it against the spirit of EDH to have synergy, to use power balance and actually, instead of just randomly flipping it?
I don't know. This deck archetype sounds a little too consistent for me. Why aren't you running like 30 lands and 99 different creatures that do nothing? Oh, yeah, you make a compelling argument. That sounds like a lot of fun.
I just felt like
wait, why didn't we put that archetype on here? 60 lands, 30 random vanilla creatures.
I think more people should just build commander decks with only their collection. I agree. Yeah, that should be an archetype we review.
I love top deck. I think this one's sweet because it's one of these like archetypes that mixes and mashes a lot of different mechanics from across Magic's history, which is, I think, in the spirit of EDH, you know, combining all these different cards from across, you know, a vast card pool is a really cool thing that is kind of specific to the format. So, you know, you play scrying cards to help facilitate, you know, messing with the top of your deck, but you play the Lord of the Rings cards that do stuff when you scry. But then you also get to play the old miracle mechanic because that also synergizes with that. And you get to like combine these different things. I think it's pretty fun. This is like a gem alarm for me.
So I do like top of library stuff, and I think it probably isn't all that played. If I could have top of library synergies ban Sensei's Divining Top, I think you're in gem alarm territory. But that card alone makes me terrified that people are going to try to adopt this and they are going to put Sensei's top in their deck, and they're going to take 57-minute turns, and that's what's going to happen. So I think
top is taking the blame for bad play.
Okay, fair. I think it is user error to a degree, but I want to come up with a little bit of a hot take here and say that I don't think I necessarily even like top deck manipulation decks. I like top. Listen, I think the wider commander population will be putting top in their top deck manipulation decks, but I like top way more as a combo card with like Bulls the Citadel, or like, you know, in those combo homes, that's where top is really shines in EDH. But for me, the 99 card singleton nature of commander makes top so much harder to make top deck manipulation work well, because you're not running play sets of Terminus in this format. You have one Terminus and you want your top to fetch it for you. Like if it gets stranded in your hand, you're kind of fucked, right? You can't untop it from your hand. Whereas like Brainstorm, Brain Surge, Scroll Rack, these are small instants and sorceries that are easy to find with things like Spellseeker. Scroll Rack you can get with Muddle. There's like ways to find these top deck manipulation stuff that not only set up the top of your library, but also unstick top of library matters cards from your hand. And that's just such an important thing. And it makes me so upset whenever someone asks me like, why isn't top in your Kinesis deck? I'm not upset at that person specifically. I just mean more like, I get the question so often and I have to go on this rant every time. Like, I just don't really like top that much. It's a fine card, but it's not like the end all be all for top deck manipulation.
I mean, I'm working on a top deck manipulation deck and I will be putting top in it. Like
there's some where it makes some amount of sense. I think if you reach a critical mass of miracles and stuff like that, then it gets a little good.
I'm running like 0 miracle cards.
Yeah, if you're doing like Yenna and like half of your deck is top deck things that you care about, that's where top is kind of decent.
Yeah.
But like Kinesos, I run like 20 sea monsters. I'm not going to see one in the top 3 cards of my library sometimes.
Yeah.
So I'd rather just scry and shit and have cantrips that are high floor.
Because I'm running it in Keranos, and it's just like on your end step, I spin top and I put a land on top so I can draw an extra card.
Yeah, you're going to find your land drops. That's fine.
And like, that's it, you know? I don't understand how, like, I get in formats like Legacy top or Modern top took a long time because you would activate it to flip things and then they would cast another spell and you'd activate it and you'd have to think again. In Commander, I don't see it taking that long. Like, why would I activate top like 10 times a turn cycle, you know?
I think once you played with it a decent amount, it stops becoming a tantalizing proposition. But just if you haven't done it a whole lot, or if you're playing with a newer deck, it offers a lot of tiny opportunities to think way too hard. And people love to take those opportunities.
Where would you rate top deck, Alex?
I don't know, I would probably put it in Ensure, but you can throw it in Gem Alarm if you want. I like it.
Oh, hell yeah. Our first Gem Alarm. Well, if you put something on screen, I don't know. All right, let's do the initiative.
The initiative slaps. I just put together a new initiative deck and I made a custom like draw out on a piece of paper initiative thing, because I feel like you kind of have to, like the I guess if you get the bigger one of the tokens and then you put like dice on it, then it kind of works. But no, I like drew out an actual initiative thing, like my Undercity map, and then I brought miniatures to my to where I was playing, and it is so funny to have people hit me a steal the initiative from me and be like, here, pick a miniature. You're entering the the side with the land. I think I definitely get why it was banned in 1v1 formats. I think it does not really belong there as just like a random parallel source of value to your normal game plan.
Yeah.
But in Commander, I think it's a blast. I think it lets people get involved in what you're doing, and I think it just is a fun political mechanic there. It definitely adds to the complexity of things, but I think it does so in a very kind of visible way, as opposed to things that add complexity kind of under the surface but aren't as obvious.
Yeah, everything I'm about to say does not apply to 1v1 formats where I think the initiative like low-key kind of sucks. I don't know. I kind of like it in Mono Red and Legacy. That is a little cool. But yeah, no, I typically, whenever I'm finding that I have a deck that's really slow, especially during my deck review streams and stuff, and it's like a prisony kind of grindy deck, and it needs that little bit of extra oomph, I'll recommend initiative cards. It was just recently where there's this kind of red Staxy prison deck on stream that was running like Ensnaring Bridge and stuff, and it didn't have like a Goblin Engineer package for that. So I put Goblin Engineer in, and there's this 3-mana artifact that when you tap and sack it, it gives you the initiative. So now this deck had like a way to grab Ensnaring Bridge and then also a way to go grab the initiative. And then the initiative, great news about it. It gets you a land in your opening hand, but after that, it gives you value without putting cards in your hand. So it works really well with Ensnaring Bridge in like a gross manner. So that was a really cool synergy deck. Like, I don't know. I really like that the initiative is just kind of passive value, and it's doing passive value in a way unlike the Monarch is. It's a lot more lethal in terms of killing your opponents pretty swiftly.
Yeah, I'm glad you said initiative over dungeon in general, because I think generic dungeon decks are less interesting to me.
Do they do anything? I feel like nobody plays like non-initiative dungeon decks because they don't really do anything.
Yeah, if it's a dungeon deck now.
I've lost to some dungeon decks like the Hama, where they're just basically a blink deck and they just play all the stuff that like ETB venture into the dungeon and they just like flicker their board and like turbo through it and double all the rooms. I've lost to
interesting.
my friend's Hama deck like multiple times. It's really powerful.
Okay.
Yeah, there is the one dungeon, I forget what it's called, the dungeon the
Mad Mage one is like, yeah, really good because it lets you like cast spells for free, right?
I love that the original dungeon had like middling value dungeon where it's just like, yeah, I don't expect to venture that much. Mad Mage where it's like, I'm going to venture and do nothing else. And then they had dog shit that no one ever ventures into. The fucking Tomb of Annihilation. Not even a Sarac who mentions that dungeon ventures into it.
Yeah.
A Sarac's like a combo card.
Yeah, Dungeon on the Bad Mage. The final one is draw 3 cards and reveal them. You may cast one of them without paying its mana cost. So what I see a lot of the dungeon decks do is they enter the Mad Mage one, and because you can't interact with the dungeon as they just play and blink their cards, because all their cards are very redundant. It's just ETB, get in the dungeon, and then you flicker it. You can't really interact with it too well. Then they eventually hit the end of it and then cheat something into play that can win the game, like an Omniscience or something that you can like really go crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm not a huge fan of those in general. Initiative I think is better because at least I can hit you and steal it. So it's like one step more interactable.
Yeah.
But unlike the Monarchy, I agree with Elk. It's not just like card draw. It does other things, which I think is way more interesting than the Monarch.
I think it's kind of a ladder move personally, just because it's adding more complexity does come with its own downsides.
Yeah, I agree.
I think Monarchy is nice for simplicity, but I do enjoy a little bit of complexity in the form of initiative.
I do hate if someone has initiative cards and they don't have the tokens for everyone, or they don't have the big one.
Yeah.
It's like, that pisses me off so much that I'm tempted to say I should not exist.
Yeah.
I don't think the initiative mechanic should exist. I still like it, but keep in mind, I'm a person who can recite every room of the initiative without fail. So like I'm very different than like an average commander player, right? I'm not the target audience, or I shouldn't be the target audience for the mechanics in this game.
Okay, I hate the mechanic in theory, but it's like fine in practice. I don't
Is
know.
there horseshoe theory where it's like should not exist at all, that it's gem alarm? Like it rotates all the way around?
I still don't want to. I don't really want to see more people play it. I mean, where would you put it, Elk?
I would put it in gem alarm. I think this mechanic's great. I like that the first room is put a land into your hand, so like people like can't have bad mana bases with the initiative in their deck. It smooths games so well.
It's not interesting enough to be gem alarm. No way. It's like so parasitic.
It is incredibly parasitic. However, it does work with like extra upkeeps and stuff. Oh my gosh, the layup.
We can talk about that in a second. I don't know.
Bothered by this.
I was gonna say I'm fine with it in sure, and then I was gonna say if there's a tie, whoever pitched the archetype can break the tie. Where would you break this, Alex?
I'd be fine with it being in sure.
All right, let's talk about extra upkeeps then. So upkeep decks are kind of funny. So the idea of this is you play just a bunch of cards that do stuff on your upkeep, and then you play things like Paradox Haze or Sphinx of the Second Sun to give yourself additional upkeeps to double up those triggers. You can also play anything that copies like activated or triggered abilities to copy the triggers. So the new Mr. Fantastic would be a commander for this. Lets you double up your upkeep triggers. I think this archetype's relatively underplayed. There aren't too many cards that specifically synergize with it, but there are a lot of upkeep triggers. So it's kind of easy to play the like small amount of synergy cards there are, and then play a lot of upkeep triggers. And then, the deck kind of can be sort of this like value thing. I will say, downside to this archetype, extra turns are another very good thing you can do to get more upkeeps. So, it can turn into a times, extra turns deck, but we'll ignore that here. We'll say that's another archetype.
I do think extra turns is an archetype unto itself anyway, because you are also getting extra end steps and extra combat steps. And like it's also just like not really that kosher to do that at like lower power levels and like kind of monopolize table time. I think before Shadow of the Second Sun got printed, I'd be like, what are we doing here? We have like 3 cards that double your upkeeps. But after Shadow of the Second Sun, the fact that we have like an aura that does it, that's like a very tutorable card type that makes this way more consistent. Paradox Haze is 3 mana. You can grab that with Perplex. The fact that Shadow of the Second Sun is also just like, yeah, it gives you an extra upkeep, sure, but also it also gives you like an untap, so like it's a wilderness reclamation.
Yeah.
There is like a really cool thing that I typically put in decks sometimes. There's a card called Court of Vantress. So it's 4 mana enchantment. When it enters, you become the monarch. And at the beginning of your upkeep, you choose up to 1 target enchantment or artifact. If you're the monarch, you make a token that's a copy of it. If you're not the monarch, you may have Court of Vantress become a copy of it, except it has this ability. So it either copies something or makes a token copy of something, depending on whether or not you have the monarchy. And this goes insane with Shadow of the Second Sun, right?
Yeah.
Because you have Shadow of the Second Sun in play, enchanting yourself. You held up counter magic to protect it. You play Court of Vantress. You counter a spell maybe that tries to counterspell your Court of Vantress. It enters. Like you have so much protection. And then you just start exponentially copying the Shadow of the Second Sun with the additional upkeeps you get at the end of your turn. So at first you get 2, then 4, then 8. And then like that's crazy. And the fact that all of those extra phases give you upkeep triggers too, that's also really cool. That's something I put in a deck regardless of whether or not it has upkeep synergy. Like sometimes I'll just recommend that for decks that like want to hold up instants or are slow grindy value control deck that wants like a finisher that like drowns their opponents out. Like, I don't know. There's like cool like things you can do that have an extra upkeep flair that don't necessarily rely on your deck being that archetype. And that's what kind of denotes an archetype existing to me. I think we finally reached that point with extra upkeeps recently.
I like the play pattern of extra upkeeps in theory in a lot of cases. I think Shadow of the Second Sun is a very cool card. I like that it kind of promotes instant speed play as well. However, I definitely can't call it underplayed because Obeka Splitter of Seconds is a top 100 commander, and also I find her kind of boring. Like that particular take on extra upkeeps is by far the most popular one, and it's also kind of boring. So I think there's that's a little bit rough. I would love to see this explored more in other cards, but I think just what we have right now is not very good.
I think I agree that I really don't like Obeka, but I think there are some saving graces from older sets and designs. I'm thinking of like Joyride the Gitu. Anything that suspends something, right? Suspend is a very good way to abuse extra upkeeps.
Yeah, for sure.
There's definitely a lot still to enjoy. I remember running Paradox Haze and Linda when I still had that Curses deck kicking around. That was pretty funny. Can you do anything with like Send Triplets? How's Send Triplets worded? Because I know that's an upkeep trigger. Can you do each opponent with the Send Triplets?
At the beginning of your upkeep, choose target opponent this. Yes, I believe that's how it works.
Yeah,
That's
that would work.
funny.
That is funny. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I do agree with you that it's like Obeka is like an asterisk on this archetype because she's not super interesting and is a popular commander. But I don't know, there's a lot of like Zedru. Come on, double your Zedru triggers. No,
The Zedru sucks. Zedru's just not real.
Where would you rate this, Alex?
Depends on whether we're including Obeka or not.
It's up to you. It's however you interpret this.
Okay. I like it enough overall that I would say sure. I think.
What about you, Elk?
I do like it in sure. Are you saying Obeka? You hate Obeka so much that you would move it to seize too much play if we included Obeka?
I mean, it's a very popular commander, and I don't like it very much at all.
I think I agree that Obeka does see too much play. It's one of these like Kalia glass cannon-y type decks, but still, I think sure still for the archetype as a whole, Obeka hasn't poisoned it for me.
Yeah, for sure. Paradox Haze is cool.
All right. I was gonna say I thought you would mention initiative because it synergizes with initiative too.
It does.
All right. Let's move on to keywords.
Hot tip.
Alex, you pitch this one.
Hot tip for y'all. If you want keywords and blood tokens, you can play Audric Blood Curse.
Huge. Audric
I don't know whether it's
Blood
underrated or not. It is a very lowly played.
It is an accurately rated.
A 400 deck commander that should have 400 decks. But no, I think keywords are funny, and I like them in part because it's a complex mechanic in the sense that you can get like kind of complicated and difficult to process board states, but it is complex in a very classically Magic the Gathering sense. Like, oh, my guy does too many little things. That's kind of funny. And I really do appreciate that it uses one of the simpler things you could synergize around, which is kind of the keywords that, extra little flair the cards have. and then turns that into the core of a deck. I also think the commanders for it are pretty fun. Let me see. What? I guess Audric Lunarch Marshal is the most popular one.
There's
Yeah.
that one Sultai commander that like when a creature with a keyword dies, it steals those keywords.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's it's the Dino.
The dinosaur, yeah, the Indominus Rex Alpha is a pretty cool commander.
Yeah.
I don't hate Rayami First of the Fallen. If a creature would die, exile with it. No, that's the one that steals keywords when things die. The dinosaur is
Yeah, there's
is
Rayami
you discard
Fallen.
the dinosaurs you discard creature cards and
Yeah.
it steals the keywords from the ones you discard.
It's pretty cool.
I don't even consider that like a keyword deck though. Can I be real? When I think of Indominus Rex Alpha, I think of someone discarding 3 cards and drawing 20. Like it's
Yeah, because you only need to discard 1 card with a bunch of keywords, but you still do need to have a density of keyword cards.
Are we considering soul flayers in this? Like things that exile cards from graveyard and then
Sure.
steals the keywords on it?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
those
a
cards
card.
kind of suck. But yeah, sure.
I mean, yeah, but they're also badass. So I don't know if you considered that.
They are. They're really cool. Them kind of sucking makes them cooler.
Okay, I think this does have enough range then, because I was just concerned that this wasn't enough range, where it was just like, oh, this is the Audric / Achroma kind of archetype, and then there's like not a lot else going on. But no, there's like a few different directions you can take this thing, whether caring about creature cards in graveyards with keywords or on the battlefield that you control or etc. Like those all work.
Yeah, I like that you can go wide with like Cosmic Slopperman if you want, like, I'm gonna give all the keywords to these things, or you can go tall with like, I'm gonna put a ton of keywords on one thing and make one monster. You can kind of pick and choose those 2 ways. So it's got branching paths and how you build.
Also, I just like that you tend to get a lot of cards in every new set. Every new set you can go, oh, that's a new creature with lifelink and vigilance.
Exactly.
There's 2 keywords on this bad boy.
Upgrade potentiality. I feel like, to me, this is a gem alert. This is a gem alarm right here.
I hate to agree, but I do. I just don't want to.
Why do you hate to agree?
I don't want to gas up Alex any more than he needs to be. I just. No, I agree. I like this archetype. Even Audric is like low key kind of calling to me now. I've been talking so much shit, but Audric, you're kind of cool.
It's a really fun Audric card, Hall of the Bandit Lord. It's a land that enters tapped, and then you can tap, pay 3 life, add a colorless. If you spend it on a creature spell it gains haste. It does not say haste until end of turn. So if you do that once, then Audric can permanently give all of your dudes haste.
Ooh,
Mm,
that is pretty cool. I like that.
that's neat.
Also, Hall of Bandit Lord, really good card. Needs a reprint. All right, next archetype. Do you want to go next, Elk, or do you want to go last?
I can go next. All right.
Next is Gates.
Yep. Gates. So, all right. A lot of people immediately, when you open up with talking about Gates, people think of Wooburg, Maze's End. That's not what I'm talking about here. There's so much more nuance to Gates that I feel like people are missing. So yes, Wooburg, Maze's End definitely like sees too much play, right? That's where that is. I'm trying to sell everyone on Gates in like even as low as 2 color decks, sometimes even 1 color decks in like mono black. In mono black, you're able to do the Gates combo, which is hilarious because you have the black gate. So you have perfectly the correct number of gates in mono black to be able to do Maze's End combo, which is awesome.
Didn't you just say you're not talking about Maze's End?
I'm giving a caveat, Trinket, God forbid. But yeah, the mono black Maze's End deck is really funny. Main point of focus for me, though, in terms of Gates, is Basilisk Gate. People who play Pauper already know the power of this card. Basilisk Gate is a colorless land, and it's simple. It's a gate, it taps for colorless, it enters untapped, and you can pay 2, tap it to give target creature +X/+X, where X is the number of gates you control, activate only as a sorcery. And what that means is if you have Shadrick Silverquill in the command zone, flying double strike 2/6, and you have 3 gates, that does 6 damage extra commander damage on your commander. Like, that's insane for certain commanders that have like an evasive element to them and maybe want double strike or have it already. Like, I just think you can fit gate. It takes up so little space in a deck sometimes because you're already kind of interested in finding your lands and fixing and stuff. And you don't even need to be in green anymore to do this. You can be in blue with Teleria West. You can be in white with Weathered Wayfarer. You can be you running Urza's Cave, of course. And it's just not that hard to assemble. And even in the games where you don't assemble it, it's so incredibly high floor. Because like, oh no, I played a tap land. Nightmare. My world has ended. I've played a tap land. It's like, no, it hasn't. It takes up so little space, and yet it's still able to be a defining finisher for a lot of decks out there, which is what I really appreciate about gates, is just that they're very low footprint in your deck, but they're also very high footprint when it needs to be.
I do appreciate that it slots into your land base. Some of the payoffs are kind of neat. Like, I don't know, there's like the one that you can use to like ping opponents. There's like Sage of the Maze. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I like that we've been getting...
Sage of the Maze is kind of like an extra one.
Yeah, I always like it when we get more stuff for these sort of land type things, caves and deserts and gates and all of that. Maze's End itself is fine. I don't know. I'm trying to think of what sort of deck it would be exciting in. Because I played it in a context where it was not all that exciting, which was as like a combo finisher. I don't know that I'm convinced it's exciting in like a slower context either, but maybe it is.
I feel like I'm with you there, Alex. Like I've seen plenty of gate decks. I don't know how underplayed this is. I've seen a lot of gate decks floating around. And the combo finisher versions are kind of like, they're whatever. They're not like super exciting. Now, is it a fun like cave style package you can add to a list as like a sub theme? Sure, that's cool. But like as your main thing, you're like, I'm a gate deck. I'm playing all the gates I can, and I'm playing, gate synergy cards. I don't know. This doesn't excite me that much, and I don't think it's very underplayed either.
Guys, but let me sell you on this. You play Maze's End, and people go, oh, he's going to Maze's End combo us. And then you bounce it back to your hand, and you like copy that ability. You get like Basilisk Gate and another gate, and you do that again next turn. You just start beating them to death with Basilisk Gate instead of winning with Maze's End.
I mean, you're beating them for like 5 damage or something.
Hey, extra combats, double strike, Aurelia players, put this in your deck. I'm begging you.
Okay.
No, I get it. I get it as a sub theme. Like, if you're in a low color aggro deck, should you run Basilisk Gates plus a few other gates and then have a little mini gate package? Like, I think that's cute. But is this like as a standalone archetype? I think it sees too much play. What about you, Alex? What are you thinking?
I don't feel like it sees that much play. I would put it in sure. Like I don't encounter gates that often. I think there are a lot of things I've encountered more often than gates. It's maybe like 1 in 100 games. So
I think we need to do a case study after this podcast about how we're so bad at making tier lists.
I mean, our tier lists are awesome. We'll discuss that after we finish
I
this
like
one.
gates than some of the rest of these. I like gates less than some of the rest of these mechanics. So I'm fine with it living into too much play.
Okay. All right. Our final archetype for this video is going to be Sneak Attack. So Sneak Attack, the card, is an enchantment that lets you put a creature into play for 1 red mana, and then you sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. But the creature gains haste, so it's like a immediate attack with it. There are other cards that do similar effects. There is the Perforos Bronze-Blooded, which can be your commander, and then there are other cards that do similar-ish things. Like they have Kalia listed here as like a sneak attack commander, which it kind of is. I always think of them more as
Sneak attack is just a good backup plan.
Yeah, it's like a good backup plan to have that. Other things that like reduce the cost of creatures heavily, like Henzi is also kind of a sneak attacky style thing. If you're playing more like big stuff rather than like smaller value things. To me, sneak attack, it has to involve like large creatures that you're cheating into play. If it's like Henzi Toolbox and you're playing like a bunch of small things, I don't feel like that's sneak attack.
Actually, one of my favorite ways to do sneak attack is there's a few cards that do this very well, few commanders that do this very well, but the commanders that do it well are insane. One that I don't think is quite there yet is Rienne, Angel of Rebirth. This is a Naya commander that says whenever a multicolored creature you control dies, you return it to its owner's hand. So let's say you have Godsire, right? It's a big Naya monster that's multicolored, and you sneak attack it into play. It has haste. You can tap it and make the 8/8 token that Godsire likes to make, and then it goes back to your hand because it dies, and then Rienne returns it to your hand. On your opponent's turn, you can also do this again. You can sneak attack it into play, make another 8/8. It goes back to hand, right? So Rienne's really cool for that, but it only works with multicolored cards. But recently in March of the Machines, we got Zurgo and Ojutai. And this is the sneak attack deck right now in my mind. If you want like a sneak attack deck that's just going to work and you don't have to put that much thought into it, this is a Jeskai commander. It's an orc dragon, flying haste. It has hexproof as long as it entered this turn. And whenever one or more dragons you control deal combat damage to a player or battle, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put one of them in your hand, rest on the bottom of your library in any order, and then you may return one of those dragons that did combat damage to its owner's hand. So you can just sneak attack out the same dragon every single turn because you're hitting them, and then you're getting this trigger and bouncing one of the dragons you snuck attack into play back into your hand to use again. Right, so they're not gone forever. which is dope as fuck. I love this card.
See, this seems kind of mediocre, but I like that about it. I like that about this plan. There are a lot of moving parts, but you know what? You gotta move some parts to make sneak attack work.
No, God forbid you ever cast your dragons. You know, you gotta you gotta cheat them every time. Well, that's what I like about Zergo and Archetypes is you can't just cast the dragons and you'll do okay. But when you get sneak attack, it's real fucking good.
Yeah.
What about you, Axe? What do you think of this archetype?
I enjoy sneak attack. I think how many decks is it even in on EDH track?
Not that many.
Sneak attack.
1,064.
Wow, that is not very many. I respect that. No, this
It's below land animation decks, which I think is.
I was talking about the sneak attack card. It's in 100.
Sneak attack is in 100K.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the card sneak attack is in a bunch of decks. Yes.
Yeah.
But I mean, like dedicating to the strategy is I think a little more niche.
Are we talking about, by the way, Meek attack decks, like the card we just got in Lorwyn Eclipse,
Meek
where like you
attack.
like cheat out like
Small creatures.
what's the big Agent of Treachery?
Yeah, I feel like it's spiritually similar, although it's like high mana cost things you want to cheat out, but they're low power, so I think it kind of works.
But anyway, I think sneak attack's cool. I want to see more of it.
Yeah.
It's kind of alongside Reanimator. It's like one of those cheesy archetypes that I'm sure if it was like super common, it would be annoying as hell. But as it stands, I would love to see more of it.
Talking about Meek attack reminded me of a stream that Spike did, Aspiring Spike, who plays Modern, where he was playing a Meek attack brew in Modern, and his opponent was playing white blue Narset prison wheels, right? You'd run Days Undoing with Narset to like wheel lock your opponent. And his opponent played Narset, and he didn't kill the Narset because he's like, if he wheels, it's really funny. Because they played the wheel with the Narset out, and then he Meek attacked out an Agent of Treachery and stole their Narset because Agent steals
So
any
cool.
permanent, and then his opponent got wheel locked by their own Narset, which is cool as hell.
That's so good.
I think he retired the deck like 2 games after that. He's like, I think we've peaked. I don't think we're ever going to do that ever again.
Yeah.
But yeah, very interesting brew. Keep an eye out for more Agent of Treachery-esque cards in the future, everyone.
If you want to play this archetype in CDH, there are some Ralph and Mikey decks that have been popping up here and there.
Oh, that card's so good with sneak attack. It's insane. It's also really good with like polymorph effects.
Yeah. The Ralph and Mikey CDH lists are kind of funny. They just kind of turbo into the commander. And Ralph and Mikey is it's like a 7-drop. When it attacks, you kind of just flip off the top of your deck until you hit a creature, and then it comes to the battlefield tapped and attacking. So it's kind of like also a cheat big creatures into play sort of list. And then it just like the CDH list is playing crap like they're playing like Port Razor. The
Port Razor's good as fuck, and that card's great.
You know, when it deals combat damage to a player, you untap each creature you control, you get an extra combat phase, and then you'll flip into like a Blightsteel Colossus or an old Gnawbone. It's pretty funny. It's a very silly CDH deck. It has put up some results.
As it turns out, most CDH decks interaction are not built around big creature in play killing me. It's mostly built around like the stack, right?
Yeah, so when like Ralph and Mikey comes down and you're like, you know, they're swinging at me. Do I spend the removal? Because it could be a Blightsteel and I die. Or it could be like old Gnawbone and then maybe they do something and like, you know, maybe I shouldn't risk it. So it's pretty funny.
That's cool.
Where are we rating sneak attack?
Low key considering putting it in Gem Alarm just so we don't have another sure.
I'm honestly same. Yeah. I like sneak attack. Let's do it.
Yeah, sneak attack's fun. I love cheating.
All right, we have successfully rated all of these. Is this a bad tier list? I don't think it's a bad tier because the problem is when we have a tier like should not exist, I don't like we're never gonna pick something that's like
I think initiative was the only thing that had a chance of going on there just because of other formats.
Yeah.
But even
Like I guess I could have picked sticker decks for like the memes.
Okay, low key attraction decks are actually kind of underplayed.
No, attraction decks are oh my god.
Attractions are broken. They're so good.
Yeah, I know they should not. This attraction decks would be fine if it wasn't for the card Myra the Magnificent. This is like the most obnoxious card to play against. I rarely get salty or like angry about a commander or a deck or whatever, but I do hate playing against this deck. This one's actually one of my least favorite commanders to play against because the turns take so long. They take so damn long. Even if you're not doing extra turn stuff with it, the turns are so unbelievably long. It is obnoxious. She opens attractions and puts instant sorceries under them. And then when you visit the attraction, you cast the instant and sorcery.
Yeah, I can see how that could take a long time.
Yeah.
With extra turn effects, it's basically just like a non-deterministic, really long combo. Without extra turn effects, even if you just have rituals, like you put a Jessica's Will underneath one of them, you're like, oh, I hit my Jessica's Will, I'll get 7 more mana and flip 3 cards. Oh, I hit something that casts another attraction, I'll visit the attraction, and then I'll cast another spell, which lets me flip this, and then it takes forever. I hate that deck so much.
Yeah, for me, when I think about attraction decks, I reviewed a most dangerous gamer deck on stream, which is the Golgari one that opens attractions when it enters or attacks.
Yeah.
And if you run Sereth Steelseeker with it, it's so funny. Like anything that like on artifact enter does something good, it's really funny in that deck because the attractions are artifacts.
I do appreciate that the attractions are artifacts that you can interact with, as opposed to being like the Monarch, where it's just like in a separate zone. If they were in the attraction zone, it'd be like way worse. I don't know. I don't like attractions though.
Yeah.
It's an artifact mechanic I don't like, which is pretty rare.
If attractions were emblems, I think I would literally weep. But luckily they're not.
I played against Quips and Guac's Mr. House attraction deck. It was kind of mid.
Yeah, well, it's Quips and Guac.
Just like the power of the deck. Not that his deck was like poorly constructed. It's just like, I don't know. Attractions are not very powerful.
Oh, that's what I mean too. Quips is always for spectacle and never for consistency. That's the point of Quips.
I saw him win a game with this deck, but he didn't open a single attraction. He just played a Marionette Apprentice and did artifact stuff.
That's brilliant. You gotta distract them with the idea of an attractions deck and then just play like generic artifact slop instead.
Just fucking beat them to death with like robots and explode them with treasure tokens. Yeah.
Yeah, I lost to treasure token synergies, which is very powerful. I feel like when we do tier lists like this, I don't even know if Yusuf is going to leave this in. When we do tier lists like this, I feel like if it's not from like user generated stuff, we're never going to have anything in the bottom tier, because I feel like none of us are as unhinged as like some of the people that submit things for this.
I don't know, Con, don't undersell yourself. You're pretty unhinged.
Thank you.
But yeah, that is true. We're just so awesome that we can't.
I don't know. Viewers can tell us if they thought this tier list sucked or not.
I just feel like we always have this like distribution curve to it that's like not what a tier list is like meant to support.
I mean, I don't know. Well, what is the correct distribution for a tier list?
I feel like a tier list should follow some sort of like bell-ish distribution. I guess it could be separated more generically.
But that's like what this is, right? We have most things in the middle category.
Okay, to be fair, we did glaze sneak attack extra hard to put it in gem alarm instead of sure.
This is a gem alarm. This is a great archetype. It's fun.
We're just being nice to sneak attack.
Should we do questions?
Yeah, I've been pulling up questions here.
Hell yeah.
Let's get a couple of bangers in here. Mirror, mirror, I sacrifice my Trinket Mage treasure token in an elk sleeve to ask, as far as casual commander is concerned, are creature control, like Wrath decks, just stacks? At what point is running 10 board wipes in a commander that blows up the board, not just stacks?
Okay, I think we're mixing terminology here for like annoyance's sake. Like, does stacks have the ability to create infuriating play patterns? Yes. Does Wrath of God have the ability to create infuriating play patterns? Yes. Does Magic the Gathering card have the ability to create infuriating play patterns? Yes. That doesn't make Magic the Gathering card stacks, right? Just because they're both capable of being like salty.
I had a whole 30-minute video talking about whether Armageddon and Wrath of God are the same card or not.
Yeah, and you concluded they're exactly the same, right?
Exactly the same, yeah. No difference between the two. Scientists haven't yet determined how these cards are different.
Sorry to spoil that video.
They both say destroy all, and then, who cares what comes after that?
Creatures and lands, basically the same, honestly. You seen the mana dorks these days?
Some creatures are lands and vice versa.
Exactly.
Yeah, I always, to me, have like stacks restricts a resource in some capacity. And so a card like Humility like continually takes away the resource of creatures, whereas like a board wipe is a one-time thing of that, and then any type of mana restriction also falls under stacks. So I would just put that as like a control deck. I don't think board wipes kind of stacks.
If I'm playing against like Grave Pact, that feels borderline stacks in some cases.
I feel like no, that's what I'm saying. That's like a stacksy effect because it's a continuous effect.
Yeah,
like it can continually, do that.
But what if somebody wipes the board every turn? At what point does that become stack?
If you set up a board wipe every turn engine, I would consider that stacks. If you just have board wipes in your deck, I think you're just playing board wipes.
Okay.
Magada the Lion, you're the staxiest boy to do it.
Yeah, if you're playing Magetta the Lion, a stacks player,
Has anyone ever read his name as like Vegeta? Like Vegeta?
he can be Vegeta the Lion.
I support it.
Oh, he's so cool.
Vegeta or Magetta?
Both?
Mirror, mirror, I flicker Stoneforge Mystic to ask, what is the best way to speed up a deck without drastically altering the power level of it?
Ooh, that's a good one. For me, I think we're kind of, okay, hang on. First things first. When you speed up a deck, it becomes more powerful. When you make a deck more consistent, it becomes more powerful. But the answer isn't lying within how do I make this deck feel better to play without making it more powerful. By making it feel better to play, you are making it more powerful. We're asking not to leave the realm of like the table that we like playing at, right? We don't want to make our bracket 3 a bracket 4 deck. There's a couple ways to go about seeing if that works or not. I always like to keep a metric of turn win. Like, how fast can this deck win in a vacuum? So if you have 0 interaction from opponents, how fast can your deck win? And I've found if the answer is around turn 7, the deck's going to feel pretty good at most tables you play at. That's where I shoot for. Your number might be different than mine. I don't know what your table looks like, but whatever the average table win is, try to subtract 1 turn or maybe 2 turns from that to account for interaction. And then that's how fast you should be winning in a vacuum, when no one touches your cards at all, because people are going to touch your cards in a real game. So that's what I would shoot for, is try to make your deck work in a vacuum like that with the correct amount of acceleration. It's not going to tell you how well it is at interacting. Ideally, while you're accelerating and winning the game, you're holding open 1 to 2 mana every turn that you're able to weave in a Thraben Charm. You're able to weave in a Swords to Plowshares or a Sajiri Shelter to protect your play, right? So make sure you're not tapping out every single turn during these play tests, right? You have a couple turns where you have like an instant speed opportunity or something like that. At least like 2 or 3 of those. And then by the time you're there, it's going to feel like a pretty good commander deck when it actually meets the pavement. And then from there, you can kind of adjust depending on how your games end up going. But that's typically how I go about playtesting a deck to make sure that it feels fast enough for a table. You can also be slow as you want, so long as you're okay with running a lot of interaction that's able to slow your opponents down as well, whether that be in the form of stacks pieces or actual removal.
How about you, Alex?
But if I'm trying to make a deck faster, I think it's going to first depend on why I'm doing that. Sometimes it might be I'm playing with like a particular playgroup who are just operating on a little bit higher power level. Because as I said, if you were accomplishing the same game plan half a turn faster, that is going to increase the power level of your deck. However, if you're just trying to make your deck more aggressive or make your deck do more things in the earlier parts of the game without necessarily hitting an overwhelming momentum early in the game, I think you can just kind of focus in on more creatures that just happen to be good at hitting people, more kind of life drain effects, as much as you can fit in without hindering your ability to kind of interact with your opponents in other ways. You can run these more aggressive cards and it'll result in the deck feeling faster, but not necessarily better, just because you'll be presumably taking away a little bit from other parts of your game plan.
Kind of interesting, because in this comment, like, I'm assuming that you want to speed up your deck they didn't explain this, but I assume you mean win on an earlier turn.
Well, I mean, that's just making a more powerful deck. So I don't know how to parse the question if that's what they mean.
That's how I assumed it, but I agree with you that if you win on an earlier turn, then generally your deck is more powerful. So it's almost paradoxical.
Yeah, but in my opinion, that's just not the spirit of the question. Whenever you're saying like, I don't want my deck to get more powerful, I think they mean like they don't want it to go up a bracket. Right? Because
yes, but I assume they want to win on an earlier turn without going up a bracket.
Yeah,
that's how I interpreted this.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Butterfly Girl, if you're listening, you can clarify different Spotify comments. I don't know. I think that if you're, like Alex said, maybe sacrificing some other parts of your deck to accomplish this, in theory, if you go down on protection to add more rituals to win faster, your deck does lose out on something. And maybe that is, if you're sacrificing something, then maybe you're not increasing the overall power level so much. It's better in one aspect, but worse in others. So maybe that's one way to do it. You speed up your deck, but it is worsened in some other capacity. If you want to ask questions like those people did, all you got to do is comment mirror, mirror in your comment on Spotify or here on YouTube, and we'll maybe get to it on the next episode.
We just end it right there.
Yeah. I would say Yusuf's Cecil deck is a devotion deck.
I like top